Welcome to Jurisdictionary, Unlocking the System. Many of you are having difficulties because it seems the system is locked to everyone that doesn't have a legal education and years of experience. But that isn't really true. We want to help you to understand what it takes to unlock the system. The key is knowledge. But it's a special kind of knowledge, a precise way of thinking, an effective method of communicating, a powerful process for positive change. We know that many of you want to see change, and you're frustrated because you don't know how to bring about that change. A process too little understood, putting truth on the public record. Let's look at some statistics. 94% of the world's lawsuits are in the United States. 70% of the world's lawyers are in the United States. 24.2 million violent crimes in 2001 in the United States cost us taxpayers $147 billion. 1.4 million lawsuits were filed in 2000. In California alone, that's 13 lawsuits every minute. Confidence in government is at an all-time low. The public has little or no practical knowledge of how our justice system works or how it ought to work. So, all too often, it fails needlessly. There is what we call a costly circle. Ignorance breeds loss. Obviously, if you don't know what it takes to win, you lose. But the problem is that loss breeds fear. People are afraid. The fear breeds anger. The anger breeds withdrawal, which only compounds the problem, because withdrawal breeds separation, and with separation we end up in rebellion. The rebellion breeds ignorance. And so the cycle of losing repeats. Public legal understanding is what we need. That's what Jurisdictionary offers. The law is our friend, your friend. Bad law can be changed for the better. Good law can be used to repair loss. Rebellion can be reversed by justice. Anger can be dissipated by education. Education can create unity of purpose. And unity of purpose will result in progress if we stand together to teach our nation how the legal system is supposed to work and how to make it work to get justice. Let's begin by taking a look at what truths we share. The people's safety is the supreme law. This is a matter of law. This is one of the maxims that controls our courts. The people's safety, however, cannot be judged but by the safety of every individual. Liberty to all, preference to none. We've gotten a long way from that, but we can go back once we know how to use the system to change the system and make it better and make it work for everyone without preference. Each of us should use his or her property and privilege in ways that do not injure others. I think we all agree to that. Who cuts the pie should take the last slice. Think about it. Do the math. That makes things more fair, and it should control our courts. The primary purpose of law is protection for the people. Some other truths. The burden of proof is on the movant. The person who offers something into court and attempts to establish that as a fact or a controlling law has a burden to do so, and he must carry that burden by the greater weight of the evidence. Unjust is state power where the law is uncertain or unknown. Well, I think we all know that's a problem, because in this nation that we live in now, the law is so complex and so huge that very few people have any idea what it is or how to use it. Again, that's why Jurisdictionary was created, to help you understand that which is otherwise unknown. Courts are for people to command the state. This is a position that we at Jurisdictionary take. You can learn how to command the court. A judge who decides without hearing both sides is unjust, regardless of his ruling. The certainty of a thing arises only from making the thing certain. So what does it take to establish certainty? Effective pleadings. We teach this. Complaints and petitions, answers and responses. Interrogatories. Questions that you're allowed to ask the other side and to demand answers under penalties of perjury and under penalties of contempt. Request for admissions, where you require the other side to admit the truth of certain matters. We teach all of this. Request for production, where you require the other side to produce documents and things that might lead to the discovery of evidence that would be admissible in your case. Subpoenas and depositions, where you're allowed to obtain information from persons who are not parties to the lawsuit. Trial and cross-examination under oath. Cross-examination is extremely powerful in getting at the truth and making it part of the record of the court. And then finally, judgment and court orders. The linchpin of logic is very important as we proceed toward winning lawsuits, and that begins with something very simple. One of the maxims, a thing similar is never exactly the same. Think about it. Words can establish truth that's not relative. For example, this statement is not true. That sentence is a paradox. All apples are oranges. That statement is falsehood. Some trees are maples. That statement is a fact. Justice doesn't grow on trees, however. It is up to us. The first goal of justice is recorded truth. It's what gets written down. The ultimate goal of justice is equity. We're going to take a look at what equity is in just a moment. Black's Law Dictionary says, equity is the spirit and habit of fairness and right dealing, which should regulate the interactions of men and women. The rule of doing unto others as we desire them to do to us, to live honestly, to harm nobody, to render to everyone what's due. It is grounded in precepts of conscience, not in any sanctions of our written law. Equity is the heart and soul of justice. It is the goodness justice works for. It is the goal good men and women strive for, the substance of due process, the wisdom of our rule of law. So what does equity demand? Equity derives from the same root word as equal, and thus it is the guide that always points our legal systems toward that path whereon all stand before its courts without preference. Each of us is entitled to our day in court, entitled to be heard, entitled to receive every protection our government affords to others. This is what equity demands. Equity appears where love and wisdom dispense justice together. Equity calls us to purpose in our hearts to work tirelessly for that system of law whereby equity is obeyed in all courts and justice is secured for all. Without equity, there can be no justice. Without justice, there can be no equity. The need for public education has never been greater, nor has it ever been more possible than it is today with computers and access to the law. The will of a well-informed populace is a wellspring of wisdom to guide government. The will of an uninformed populace brings upon itself only ruin and decay. The will of a deceived populace supports the self-interest of tyrants. You see where this is going. The Republic of our United States will only survive by our understanding justice and using its rules to protect innocence. So where do we begin? Look to the need. Children in rebellion, jails filled to overflowing, the cost of clogged court calendars, rapid erosion of due process, deterioration of the family and materialization of morality, replacement of reason with power, loss of trust, threat of war, and public unrest. Peace is our goal. What is the root cause of all warfare? Misunderstanding, greed fueled by ignorance, and reason displaced by power. What is always the ultimate cure? Understanding in shared goals and methods. That's part of what Jurisdictionary teaches. Information that promotes prosperity, and power controlled, again, by reason. So what is reason? Reason refuses to deny self-evident truth. That's one thing. Reason anticipates the inescapable effect of truth and plans accordingly. Reason uses words logically. Reason overcomes self-interested rhetoric. Reason abides with common sense. Reason seeks what's best for everyone. Reason follows rules that can be taught. So when do we begin? Changing old habits begins today. The need has never been greater. Public legal ignorance is a moral crisis. Public legal ignorance is costly. Public legal ignorance can be cured. It won't happen by itself. It won't happen overnight. It won't happen ever if we don't begin now. So what do we need? People who care about justice and truth. People who care about their children. People who care about their country. People who care about other people. People who care about the world. People who care enough to believe. People who care enough to begin. People who care enough to learn. An affordable source of legal knowledge, Jurisdictionary.